Shawna and Jody here with Real Sisters, Real Talk.
We're glad to have you joining us as we talk about growing in our faith with God.
Hey, it's Real Sisters, Real Talk. I'm Shawna. That's my sister Jody, and we are just so grateful that you're here. Happy New Year to you. We stepped into a new year since the last time that we recorded. So let me put it that way. And we are entering into 2025. At least I am, and my whole family is. A lot of the way that the whole country is stepping into 2025 with getting back into the workout routine. So I definitely had fallen off the wagon, and I've got my youngest daughter just moved home. Long story. Anyway, she's home for a few months before she moves to Nashville. And my oldest daughter is home. She is home for 6 months from the Czech Republic. So the two of them do CrossFit together. So they have opened up their membership or whatever to the CrossFit gym, and they're going in the mornings to CrossFit. So they had invited my son to join them this morning. I, by the way, do not do CrossFit. I do not. I have been working out and I've been incredibly sore, but not doing CrossFit. Have you been, Joe, you're so consistent. Have you been working out all of 2024?
I do. That is honestly my rhythm every single morning or six days a week. I at least walk, but I also,
that is amazing. 6 days a week.
yeah. I mean, part of it, I have a dog that needs to walk, but
Right.
but I also 5 days a week, I either lift weights or I do like an ab workout. I do something before I go for my walk. So, and honestly, I do it because it's good for me. I do it because it's healthy, but I also do it because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It starts my day right. And so after my devotions, it is the very next thing I do is I work out. So that's when you said you had fallen off the wagon, like how long had you
Oh gosh,
fallen off the wagon? It's been
I
months.
think since when Sayla was born, like when I went to Australia in July.
Really?
So like really, really fallen off. So yeah, I went to
Yeah.
Australia in July, and I think I worked out once with the kids the week before Sayla was born. Well, I worked out with Grant. Now we lead him. But then, then it was like, yeah, it was just like I got back and getting back in my routine. Here's the thing, I'm a morning workout person. Like as far as my makeup,
Yes.
that is perfect for me, but my schedule does not work with that. So I'm a morning show host for radio. So I am up just to get ready for work and get out the door on time. I'm up around 3:45, 4 o'clock is kind of my normal. So there was a time there that I was getting up I would set my alarm for 3:30 and just immediately do 30 minutes of cardio, like roll out of bed and do 30 minutes of cardio immediately, just like slam a protein shake and just get after it. But I've fallen off of the wagon of doing that too. So yeah, I've fallen off the wagon big time and when it comes to working out. So, but I'm back. And last week was horrible because I was so sore. I just was in so much pain. But I got through, it was like that third workout because I've been doing weights like every other day. And it was like that third workout where I was like, I feel good, like first day was like, I can't walk, but now I'm kind of getting back into my routine.
Yeah.
But all of this to say, so my kids and CrossFit this morning, they were heading off to the CrossFit workout, and I didn't work today. And so my son and my husband were to go. My husband tapped out. He's like, I'm not going. And then my son, this morning when he woke up, he heard that it was a benchmark workout. And he's like, oh, that doesn't make a lot of sense because I was just going to check it out for the very first time. I won't be able to continue to do this. So it doesn't make sense to do a benchmark workout because what those exist for is they exist to be able to show you how you've progressed since the last benchmark workout and to show you and to set a baseline for the next benchmark workout so you can see your progress. You can see how you've gotten stronger and you've built stamina and that sort of thing. All that to say, the kids and the whole CrossFit and the benchmark workout and all of that made me think, we've been talking a lot about benchmarks the last couple of weeks as we've talked about reflecting back on 2024 and getting ready for 2025 and even being kind to our future self and like Jody of 2026 and Shawna of 2026 and you of 2026. Like, what do you want to do for her? So when she shows up in January of 2026, because of the work that you've put in, she's experiencing these benefits and these blessings. And we've had great conversations about benchmarks, but I'm walking it out. And as I walk it out, I feel like there's even more to dive into around this.
I do too. And I'm honestly really excited about this because of the work that I've been doing in the last couple of weeks, and that I feel like the things that God is showing me. So honestly, literally on that topic, one of the things that I want to do for Jody December 2025 or January 2026, as I was reflecting on 2024, one of the questions that I ask myself is, what are lessons learned in 2024?
That's good.
And right, that is good because there are so many lessons learned. And so I have been like reflecting on that. I I know there were aha moments in this last year. I know that there were moments that I was like, Lord, really, really, how have I not gotten this before? Do you think I can recall any of those? I mean, it takes time sitting with the Lord and having him bring those things up because I don't have them written down. Things that I thought, man, this is big. I will never forget this. And I cannot recall it in the moment of trying to recall it. So, one of the things I have set to doing in 2025 to set myself up for the end of the year, it to be kinder to future Jody, is
Right.
I'm going to journal my learnings as we go. So even kind of the real simple learnings in my devotions or kind of just that aha moment that the Lord shows me if I'm, studying or prepping to teach or just in life. Sometimes we get these just in life like, "Oh, wow, that's a correction. How have I not seen that before?" I'm going to write those down. So I have a special Google sheet that I'm going to do that in
That's
and
good.
record those things so that at the end of the year, I can go back and not have to look at an entire journal, but I can reflect on these are significant learnings for 2024. So let's see if I can keep that up, but I am going to do
I
my
love that.
best.
I love that. I was having a conversation with my oldest daughter, Bryn, and we were talking about kind of things that the Lord had said to us and what we had learned. And she could, like you were talking about, like you will be able to do a year from now, Jodes, she could just like say this and this and this and this. And we were talking on the phone at the time. She was still in the Czech Republic when we were having this conversation. And I just said, how are you doing this so quickly? Like, how are these so readily? And she goes, oh, and I can't remember specifically how she said she like if it's something that God had spoken into her life that was significant, she like writes it all in capitals, or she writes, with the like highlights
Oh,
it or whatever.
yes.
So she can look through her journal because Jodes, come on, I got a lot of words. I got a lot of words when I talk. I got a lot of words when I write, and so I am a big journaler. I journal almost daily. But it's a lot of stuff. It's stuff I'm processing. It's questions I have. It's prayers I have. So what I would tweak that I'm going to make on what you just said is I want to specifically document, like, this is what God is teaching me in, I don't know, maybe all capitals is the way to go, but like in a way that I can easily identify these are the things that God has spoken into my life.
I love that. So you like to actually sit and write with a
I
journal,
do.
right?
I
Yeah.
do.
So sometimes I type, sometimes I write.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes when I write, I don't know, they're just different experiences for me. But when I write, I I tend to kind of shorten things a little bit,
Yeah.
or
It
yeah,
forces you to slow down, kind of.
it
Yeah.
does. Which that's good because I can kind of just flow in my writing. But when I type, I feel like my thoughts are more kind of
Yeah,
um,
like fluid, just
full.
do 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 do
Yes,
do do. Yeah.
yes. And so I think I add more when I type. And so there's times when I do both, but I'm just
Mm.
thinking, I love that idea because I can even just keep a highlighter with my journal and just highlight those. Or when I'm typing, go back and like, oh, wait, that was a learning. I'm going to go back and bold that, or I'm going to go back and highlight that. Um,
Yeah. Even just like to have like we're, talking about benchmarks, like a weekly or even a monthly, like I'm going to reflect back on the things that God said to me in this month so that there's like a January recap and a February recap. But the thing about typing it that I love, Jodes, is you'll be able to do like search and find. what you're looking for a lot easier
Yes.
than paging through my journal.
Yes. Okay. So then, honestly, so as far as like searching, I wonder if this is real time figuring out, like, I wonder if even when I see it, like, as I just kind of journal out and go, oh, that was an aha moment. I wonder if I even just bump a space in there and put a line in it says aha moment. So I can
Aha.
pull up, right? So I can pull up any spot, or it'll highlight any spot that
I
is
love that.
aha. So I as you were sharing that, I think I was thinking I was going to do this on a monthly rhythm, kind of go back and highlight my learnings. But just as you were sharing, I'm feeling like I'm supposed to put this on a weekly rhythm, at least
Mm.
right now, because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if I put it on a monthly rhythm, I'm going to miss it. And if I can get it into my weekly rhythm so that it's part of my rhythm and
Yeah, it's
it becomes
fresh.
part of my identity, it becomes who I am, it's something I do, then I can back
Yeah.
it out a little bit and I can get it in a rhythm where I do it on a regular basis. But I'm just feeling like I need to do that weekly. So like even with you talking about working out, like, oh no, you are on a rhythm. You are not going to miss. So over Christmas break, I did miss a couple workouts because I thought, oh, I'll do it later in the day. I'm not a later in the day kind of workout person. I'm just not. Like
Yeah.
I am at my best in the morning. That is just my
Yeah. Same,
reality.
same.
Yeah. So, but I don't freak out over that because I know my rhythm is I'm going to regularly do that. But right now, like right now, you're like, no, rigidly 3 days a week, I
Mm-hmm.
am doing this. Like I am not going to miss because I can't miss because I have to get in my rhythm. I feel like that's where I am in
Yeah.
this practice is I need to get it to a point where it is just what I do. I don't miss.
I
So
love
that
that.
it, yeah.
I also love the question that you'd asked yourself, like, what did I learn in 2025? Just this morning, a friend of mine texted, she was sitting and doing some reflecting with the Lord, and these 5 questions. So the questions that I have used historically ever since I worked for Courageous Leadership are what's right, what's wrong, what's missing, what's confused, which is what we
Yes.
used with all of our clients and leadership. And so I take those 4 questions and apply them to like the big chunks of my life, like what's right, wrong, missing, confused in my marriage, what's right, wrong, missing, confused in my relationship with the Lord, what's right, wrong, missing, confused at work. But here's some good questions, and one of them matches up with what you were sharing. But these 5 questions: what was the best thing that happened this past year? Mine was easy. It was Selah,
Oh,
my
yes.
grandbaby. Number 2, what challenges did you overcome? Number 3, what are you most proud of? Number 4, what advice would you give your last year self? And number 5, what did you learn about yourself?
Oh my goodness. I
That's good.
love that. Those are really good. We
Yeah.
actually should post those in our notes so people can grab those because that
Yeah.
those are really, really good. Um, so that's like a year-end processing for you, those
Hmm.
questions, or are you thinking like monthly?
Well, I just got these this morning. So
Okay.
I don't have, I mean, I think it's definitely a year end, but like with the what's right, wrong, missing, confused, my plan is to do that quarterly. But
Yes.
it's not like, okay, on March 1, I'm going to sit down and do it. And so it's probably happened more like 3 times a year or twice a year than it has actually quarterly.
Yeah.
But not a bad idea to just drop it in the calendar just as a reminder to ask
Yeah.
those questions or these questions, whatever works for you. It's not like the magic is in the questions so much as it is in taking the time to reflect and to be intentional.
And that's a good point. And I think that like even some of the questions that we throw out as ideas, like you need to process what is good for you. So I had, as I did this process at the end of the year, at the end of 2024, I had a whole document of kind of prompts, and some of them resonated and some of them didn't. And I
Hmm.
had gotten them from different sources and just kind of compiled my own little pile of them. And I left them in that document so that next year I can kind of go through them again because maybe something else will resonate different than this year. But there were some of them I didn't force myself to answer every question because
Oh, that's good.
yeah,
Good
it
for you.
was
I'm proud of you.
yeah, thank you. And that's not easy for a
I
like,
know.
achiever, a
Rule
doer, like
follower. Yeah.
yes, rule follower, thank you. So that was really freeing for me, but also really really fun. One of the things I just want to share that I did get, And I honestly took this out of some notes from my study Bible. And it was just in my devotions that I was reading, and it was about a parable that Jesus had taught, and it was in my notes describing like what the lessons of that parable were. But it had some really good questions about asking if money has become an idol. And so I added these
Mm.
on the bottom of my journaling
That's
before
good.
2024 ended. And I just want to share them as a processing, just as kind of a check. But it says, do I think and worry about money frequently? Do I give up doing what I should do or would like to do in order to make more money?
Hmm.
Do I spend a great deal of time caring for my possessions? Is it hard for me to give money away? Am I in debt? So those are just, those are easy like markers to check and just go, okay, is this in the place it should be? And I do remember, I'm not there now by the grace of God, but I do remember a time in my life where money was tight for our family. And I just remember thinking, oh, if we just had this amount of money, if we could just get this,
Mm.
if we could just get that, if we could make this amount, if we could just pay like that, like almost like it was dominating my thoughts. And I recognized God showed me, oh, this is what's coming to mind all the time. And so I had to
Hmm.
really start releasing that and letting that go and realizing, no, that actually needs to be time that I turn to you, Lord. So when I'm thinking about finances, I need to turn that into, God, I trust you. God, I know that you're in control. Thank you for providing for our family. Thank you. Help me to see all the ways that you are providing, to change that prayer so that that money didn't become an idol. But I liked that as a check, as a part of my
Yeah.
journaling prompts. So I just kind of bumped that in. So I collect these things from all over the place, like what you just did
Yeah.
this morning, these questions. Like I love those questions. I want to put those in my journaling prompts because I think those are really good. Like,
And
yeah,
because you don't know what's going to stick and what's not going to stick. And it might even be different from year to year, what kind of catches your attention to focus on. I love the whole evaluation about our relationship with money because God is so very clear that that is an idol that pulls at us. I was actually reading Revelation this morning, and as I was reading through Revelation and the beasts and the monsters and all this, so I kept thinking, how much of that is just worldliness, like the love of money, that we
right.
worship the love of money. And one of the, my word for 2025 is, and I don't do this every year, but my word for 2025 is drumroll, declutter. So I have been decluttering physically, but it's so much more than that. It's like it's spiritual and physical kind of wrapped up in one, I feel like. And as I step into the decluttering, I'm having to face my relationship with money and with things because they're things. Here's where it comes down to it for me, Jodes, right now is like it's things that I spent money on that no longer serve me, that I have a hard time parting with because I think I spent money on that. Instead of letting it go, I'm having a hard time letting things go. And that's part of the decluttering process. And that's where it feels like it's more than just stuff to me. It feels like God is taking me on a journey and showing me, as you walk through this in the physical, Shawna, there's going to be aha moments for you in the spiritual as you walk out this obedience. And I started with my boot room.
What is a boot
D-
room?
I know. I knew you were going to ask that question. Okay, it is a glorified coat closet. So it's
Oh,
like a
California, Michigan.
walk-in. Yeah. So it's like a walk-in coat closet in the Midwest. I think everybody has a boot room where, you come in from the snow or whatever, and you can kick off your boots and hang up your winter coat and such.
Yeah, I love that. And I just have to tell you, I love your boot room. I think that is the
You do?
coolest thing. I do. And I've only really been there in the summer, I think, or spring. But I love your boot room because it's like this place to kind of un, take off the coat and take off the outside shoes,
Yep,
like
it's where
all
I
that
hang up
stuff
my
in this.
purse.
Yes. And you've got
Yeah.
like rack where you can hang things up. So I love your boot room. I love having a place to do that. Didn't know it was called a boot room and haven't seen it function in winter. So
Right. Which is when it really needs to shine. That's its moment. Like, you're a boot room, do your thing. But my boot room was so full of junk and stuff that my, like being able to find the mittens that you want or the scarf that you want was like not accessible. So, yeah. So the first thing when I got into my boot room was I realized there were a lot of things in there that didn't fit anymore. That I
oh
needed,
my goodness.
coats that just needed to go. They didn't fit anymore. They weren't serving me or they didn't fit me physically. And it made me think like, what are the things in my life that just don't fit anymore? That I at one point they had a lot of value and I invested in them and I just keep doing them, but they don't fit anymore. Maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's language that you use that's like, in what God has done in my life, that language really isn't fitting for someone who's following Jesus. So like those words need to be, we can just get rid of those. They don't fit anymore. Or even habits that you have in your life, like ways in which you spend your time, that because of what God has done in you over the last year, they just don't fit anymore.
I would even say specifically like just the work that you and I have done. And how did this not come to mind when I was processing out my journaling? But the false identity, how that was
Yeah.
a huge learning. And I'm processing, I
Yeah.
just got to process that out with somebody very dear to me yesterday, and she just said to me, I know I need to take this to the Lord, and but is it okay if I process it with you? And I'm like, yes, like this we need to talk about it, and that's sometimes how God reveals it. And yes, you need to be quiet with the Lord, and she's been doing that. And so she actually had discovered way more than she realized she discovered as she was
Oh, that's
telling me
awesome.
about her time with the Lord. And so I could just repeat back to her what she said. There was no,
Yeah.
I didn't have any new insights. I was just repeating back to her what she said, and it was kind of solidifying what God had been teaching her. But even as God, as we grow and as God teaches us our true identity and to let go of that false identity, so even
Yeah.
that, there are words that need to go, there are habits that need to go. So that's a really like solid example of what you're saying, of decluttering the old self and leaning into who we are in Christ. I love
Yeah.
that. That's
I
really good.
I recently a friend of mine posted something on social media and it was funny. It was a joke. But I was like, that just doesn't fit with who I know that person to be. Right? Like that doesn't fit. That's not who you are anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just good to pay attention to those things and what fits. So that was one of my, cleaning out the boot room, but God has more in mind for me than just moving coats around kind of
He's
moments.
teaching you while you do it. While you do the physical act that he has
Yeah.
told you to be obedient to do, he is now revealing truth to you. But it's because you are you're paying attention to him. You are open to him. You're listening as you do the physical work. So our physical work plays into or affects our spiritual development too. And that's such a great example of that. We want to be paying attention. We want to be obedient with what he puts in front of us. And then always it's that, we're going to talk about this next week, but this abiding in Christ, right? It's such a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful thing. So I love how you're physical. I have to tell you, you talked about decluttering at the end of the year. And I was kind of going through my closet and kind of cleaning some things out. And I found two pairs of tennis shoes that I haven't worn in probably 6 years. But I thought, I might
Oh
be able
my
to use them
goodness.
for I'm not
Someday.
exaggerating. Yep.
Someday. Yeah, no,
I'm
I
going to
get
tell
it.
you, I moved them into this house and I don't know if I've even worn them in this house. And we've lived here for a little over 7 years. So, but it's things like that where it's like, oh no, those are now in a bag to go. Like somebody else can use these. This is silly. This is silly. I do
Mhm.
not need those shoes. But there's just even kind of that, like, what is that? I'm doing that in my office. I'm
Yeah.
rearranging things. Johnny is so gracious and so kind, and he's helping me reset it so that it'll actually be easier for podcasting. My setup will be a little bit easier,
Nice.
but also setting it up with a desk. Like we had a bed in here. We took that out. We got rid of that. And so I'm kind of rearranging all the stuff. It is also Faye's playroom. All her toys stay in here. She doesn't typically play
Yeah.
in here, but all of her toys are in here. So we just kind of pull them into the front room when she's here. But but it's getting organized and I'm feeling really good about that. So
Yeah.
it's some of that kind of stuff where it actually makes you feel better. Like I'm sure decluttering your boot room actually changes the way you feel as well as teaching you in the process.
Yeah, and
So
I
good.
want to be in my boot room. So like a boot room is not a place that you hang out, but I just keep opening the door and flipping on the light and
Oh,
just looking around because it's so organized and it's clean. And there's two other things that I learned. I started with my boot room, let me tell you, first of all, because it's probably the smallest room in the house. And I thought I can start this and finish it and feel good about it.
yep.
So I went after it. But two other things that I learned while I was cleaning out my boot room is I have a crap ton of bags. Like I have
Oh,
so
yeah.
many bags, and I'm talking bags like, you know, beach bags or lake bags or like grocery bags, reusable grocery bags. Oh my goodness, that's a big deal. My daughter, who came home from the Czech Republic, in Europe, they don't give you bags. You buy an item, they hand you the items. You buy 10 items, they hand you 10 items. And so she carries little packable, reusable bags in her purse that fold up all neat and tidy, and she just carries them in her purse. So I have learned through just doing life with her since she's been home that she doesn't take bags. And I take bags all the time. And it seems silly to me now because here's what I do with the bags, Jody. I bring them home, I unpack my things, and I save the bag and I fold it and I put it in my boot room because I want to be a good steward of those bags. I'm not a good steward of bags, Jodes. I'm just a bag collector. I
Right.
don't reuse them. I just collect them. And it's silly.
So, yeah. Have you applied that in your spiritual?
Yeah, there's this is kind of deeper. So one thing that
Yeah.
comes to mind for me is I have a lot of bags and a lot of it was just trash. It just needed to be thrown away.
Yeah.
But I couldn't throw it away until I touched it and I dealt with it. And so I think we do have baggage and we carry around a lot of stuff that is honestly just trash. It can just be eliminated. It has no value. The Nordstrom
Yeah.
Rack bags, whatever, like
Yep.
toss them. Like they
Yep.
have no value. But you do have to handle them. You do have to pick them up and, decide to deal with it. So yeah, but this is twofold for me, Joe. It's because I could deal with all the bags in my boot room and throw away the bags that I don't use, even though I think I'm being a good steward by keeping them. But I also need to stop taking bags.
Right.
And I think I'm this could be a whole podcast probably in and of itself, but I did this to my daughter once. She was telling my youngest daughter, Haven, was telling me that she just was feeling overwhelmed and she was carrying a lot. And a lot of what she was talking about were things that her friends were going through and emotions that she was feeling and this, that, and the other. And as she was talking to me, I just picked something up and I handed it to her and she took it kind of questioningly. She just took it and she kept talking. And then I just kept handing her stuff. And then finally she was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm physically representing what is happening in your world right now. Like people are handing you things and you're just taking them. You're not questioning it. You have a choice. Use your agency. Are you going to take that thing or are you not going to take that thing?" And I had to learn this in my own life.
Shawna, I remember when you were processing through this when your kids were so little. I
Yes,
literally
my
remember
big
talking.
bag.
Yeah, I remember processing this with you and
Yeah.
going through it. So what a beautiful thing for this. Okay, and I know this is your daughter and it's our Have. Like I get that, but this is what mentoring is. Like this is what I've learned. And so instead of like just bestowing your words of wisdom on her, you're just like, no, we're going to actually give you a physical. We're going to give you a
I'm
physical
going to keep
learning
handing
here.
you stuff.
Yep. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to declare this discovery over you. I'm going to let you discover this. What a
Yeah.
beautiful way to pass on what you've learned so many years ago to someone you love. This is what mentoring is. This is
Yes.
so
And I
important.
even, as I'm handing her all this stuff and I'm like, "Why did you?" And then when she finally
Yeah.
was like, "Mom, stop." I said, "Why did you take it?" And she goes, "Because you handed it to me." And
Yes,
I'm like, "Is
sister.
it useful to you?" She's like, "No." And I'm like, "Do you want it?" She's like, "No."
No.
And I'm like, "You do not have to take and hold everything that I hand you. I might be handing you stuff that's not for you. I may be handing you stuff that's, not useful. You don't want. It's trash. I just wanted to get rid of it." And now I handed it to you. Now it's your problem. Like, yeah. So that to me was a reminder of not only do I need to get rid of bags that I've taken, sort through it, but I also need to just stop receiving everything that's handed to me and use my agency, ask the Lord, what's this useful? Is this something you want me to have in my hands, or how do you want me to handle what
And
just got handed to me?
I am just going to say that can be physical things. It can be words spoken over us. It can even be expectations put on us. It can even be godly expectations put on us. Like, we need to bring this stuff to the Lord. We need to actually ask him. And wow, that is a powerful learning. Okay, sister, I'm going to ask you. So you shared two things, learning and decluttering. Do you still have just a yes or no? Do you still have a third thing that you said you wanted to share that you learned in decluttering?
Kind of. I mean, my
Okay.
learning from the thing that I shared before was and this is more of like I'm going to take this with me in 2025, is I need to choose more wisely what I take on in 2025 and not just assume. Yeah.
I
There is
love
one more
that.
thing.
Okay, you know what? Like, I'm just thinking we're needing to wrap this up. I think we're going to hit
Mhm.
pause here, and I think we're just going to jump into a little bit more on this conversation. Does that sound fair to you?
All right.
Because
Yeah,
I
sure.
feel like we're not done. I feel like there's still more things that we're processing in this. So, we want you to know this is fun for us. This is Shawna and I learning real time together and sharing what we're learning. We learn from each other. Um, and
So
I
much.
also, like, this week, I just honestly got to chat with one of our listeners, and just what I learned from a couple actually different people reached out. And so what I'm learning from what you're learning, we're so grateful. We love to hear from
Mhm.
you because we learn so much when we get to share this together. And so, yeah, we would just love to
Oh, I
hear
got
from
to
you. Yeah.
I'll share one more thing just attached to that. Like, if any way, this is kind of a new learning for me in 2024. Um, I have this thing about not wanting to be self promoting,
Yeah.
and Jodes and I have talked about this, and something is shifting in the way that we think about the podcast. And just, yeah, full disclosure, we are hearing back that God is using these conversations in your lives. And that makes like that's just the secret sauce, that we are so thrilled about the way that God is moving in your lives. If you have been blessed, if you've learned something through Real Sisters Real Talk, I would just encourage you to let somebody know about it. Somebody else that you think might be blessed. And not as a matter of self promotion, but as a matter of God promotion.
Yes.
And because we so desperately need him and we love him. If this has been helpful to you, I just want to encourage you to pass it on.
Yeah, and if you can review it on whatever platform you listen or watch, we would appreciate that too. And so, we just did some evaluating at the end of the year if we were going to continue on with the podcast, and we just feel like we have so much fun doing this, and we just
Yes,
feel
we
like
do.
we are being obedient with what God has for us in this season, and so we are moving forward and deciding, instead of digging our heels in, we're gonna lean in, to what God has. So thank you for doing your part, and thank you for listening, guys. We just are so humbled and grateful for you, and to be able to be on this journey with you, and be growing together. And we've been talking this last couple podcasts about what our closing means. I've had people say it back to
Mm.
me, and I love that. But it really, like, oh, if we can just get this, this year, this is not flippant. This is not just a phrase, but can we really know in the deepest part of us that we serve a real God and that he really loves you?